Today I'm going to share with you this really easy process for dressing a window. There's no sewing involved and it's really easy to do. So you're going to need a couple of coordinating fabrics. I'm using this nice soft cotton which drapes nicely. For the curtain rail and the rod in the blind I've used bamboo barbecue skewers. Now these are 3mm or 1/8 of an inch thick, so you could just use dowel of that thickness, but these are quite easy to get hold of and relatively cheap, so I use these. And you'll need a saw to cut these with. Bamboo's quite tough, so you won't get through it with a craft knife, so use your mitre block and saw if you have one. Fabric glue for hemming the fabric, and then I've used Gorilla Wood glue for attaching the curtain rails to the actual wall. Cocktail sticks for applying the glue to the fabric, and just a piece of card to dispense it on. So we're going to start by making the blind, and to get the measurements for that you need to measure the width of the window opening, and then you just want to add on about 5mm or 1/4 of an inch at either side, just so you've got a bit of an overhang. So it's the width of your window plus 10mm or plus 1/2 inch. And then I'm not hemming this piece at the sides because obviously it's going to be hidden by the curtains, but if you're using a fabric that it sort of tends to fray and you want to do a hem, then just add on another 5mm at either side, so you're adding on 10mm at either side and 1/2 inch either side. Like I say, I'm not hemming it, so I'm just going to add on the 5mm at either side. And then for the drop, work out where you actually want it to come to within the window opening. And I just want mine to come down about 20mm or 3/4 of an inch. And then you want to work out how far above the window you want it. And I'm going to put mine 10mm up. And then you need to add 5mm for the hem at the top, and 10mm for the hem at the bottom where we'll be enclosing our skewer. So the drop that you want plus the amount you want above, and then plus 5mm for the hem at the top, so 1/4 of an inch at the top, and 10mm at the bottom, or 3/8 of an inch. So add all that together and then cut your piece of fabric. And you don't have to be as precise as that, so just that you're taking into account what you want at the top and what drop you want within the window, and then add on a good hem at the top and the bottom, and again at either side. So I'll just put that to one side. I've cut my piece of fabric here, and then you want to cut a piece of bamboo to that length as well, so to the same width as your blind, and we'll enclose that in a moment. So we're going to start by turning up or gluing up the hem for the top of the blind. So just begin by creasing it over. In this case that was about 5mm or 1/4 of an inch. And then I've just dispensed some glue here onto a piece of card, and I'm going to apply it with a cocktail stick. And a good tip to stop the glue from sort of soaking through to the other side of the fabric is just to let it dry off before you stick down the hem. So while that's just drying off, I'm just going to fold over the 10mm at the top, or sorry, at the bottom, which will enclose the skewer. I'll just apply some glue on there as well. And then I'm going to glue up that bottom hem, or top hem, I keep saying it the wrong way round. So the smaller hem is at the top and the larger hem at the bottom where the skewer will be enclosed. And then you can just pop that in below the crease that you've made and then just glue the hem over it. And then any sort of overhanging bits at the end we can just snip off once the glue has dried. So that will be our blind, quite simple. I'm just going to put that to one side to dry. And then I'll just bring the window back in. And we now want to cut the fabric for the curtains. And it's a similar thing for this, so you want to measure the height of the window opening, and then you want to add the same amount again at the top, so that the top of the curtains will be level with the top of the blind, and then just add a little bit at the bottom. Now I know what I'm going to have under here, a sink, which will come to about there, so I don't want the curtains hanging down too low. So I'm just having an extra sort of 5mm or 1/4 of an inch at the bottom. And then again you need to add in for the 10mm hem at the top, or 3/8 of an inch to enclose the curtain rail, and a 5mm hem at the bottom. Okay, so it's your height of your window plus the extra at the top, extra at the bottom, and then your 10mm hem or 3/8 of an inch hem at the top to enclose the rail, and a 5mm or 1/4 of an inch hem at the bottom, just to keep things nice and neat. And to work out the width of the curtain fabric, work out what you want overhanging on this side and on the inside of the window, and add those two figures together, and then add on 10mm or 1/2 inch for an extra 5mm hem down each long edge. And then once you've got that figure, add in half of it again, and that gives us some fabric to gather and make our pleats. So you're just working out what you want across here, adding in a bit for the hems, and then add in half of that figure again to give enough fabric to pleat, to gather and pleat the curtain. And then whatever you want sort of overhanging here, and I want about 25mm or 1 inch at either side, add that measurement to the width of the window, and again on either side, and then that's the length that you want to cut your bamboo skewer to for your curtain rail. So I've cut the pieces here for my curtains. I'm going to start by folding over the 5mm hem at the bottom. Just snip off these frayed edges. Okay, so begin by folding the crease for your hem, and if you've got a fabric that obviously has a right way up, then just make sure you're putting this at the bottom of the fabric. Doesn't matter which way around mine goes, so I haven't checked. Okay, I'm just going to glue those. Put a bit of glue along there. and just glue those down. So once the glue has dried along the hem, just turn over your hem at either long edge, crease it in, and then just before you glue that into place, just snip off that bottom corner, and that just keeps it nice and tidy along those edges. And then you can glue those down. So do both of those and then we'll fix them to the curtain rail. So once the glue is dried on the side hems, fold over again the 10mm or 3/8 of an inch hem at the top and just crease that into place. And do that on each curtain. And then again just snip away that outside corner on each one. Just keeps it nice and tidy. And then just have the curtains there on your worktop and place the curtain rail across so that the curtains are just at each end, like that. And then apply glue to those top hems. And the other one. And then you just want to roll each one over the rail. And we don't want the glue to dry fully because we want to gather the curtain along a bit to create a few pleats. Just do that one as well. And press the hem down against the edge of the rail. And then sort of holding the hem in place, just gather each curtain along the rail. And this is why you need to do it before the glue sort of completely dries, and keep pressing the hem down. So try and gather it along evenly. And then just press the seam back together. then do the other end. So you're gathering and sort of just keeping the hem pressed together until the curtains are sort of both the same sort of width. You can just check that by eye, or you can actually measure just to make sure they're both the same width. I've got just under 50 there, so I'll just gather that one a bit more. And you can always just apply a little bit more glue if they start coming up at the edges there. And then we're just going to leave that to dry. While that's drying, we can fit the blind into place. So I've got the window here, and remember that the rod that we've put in goes at the bottom, and I'm going to have it about there, so I've got about 10mm up the top there. So I'm using my wood glue to actually attach this to the wall, and just apply the glue along the back of that top hem, just a little bit down the sides, just the amount that you're having above the window. Just move that out of the way. And then you can just glue that straight into place on the wall so that it's sitting central, so you've got the same amount hanging over each side, and just press that down. Just check that that's straight across the window, and then that can be left to dry. So big, this piece of wood, that I can't get it all in shot, but there. So once the glue at the top of the curtain has dried, we're going to glue in some of the folds, and this is just so that the curtain hangs down in a straighter line. I've done this one already. As you can see, the one I haven't done, it flares out at the bottom, and it looks quite unrealistic, so we're going to glue in some of the folds. And to do that, just begin by creasing in some of these sort of natural drops that you can see have formed here when we gathered the top. And just crease them in with your fingers. Sort of crease and then sort of pull the fabric. And then like that. You know, and if you want sort of a lot more pleats, then you can add on extra to the width of the curtain, so that you can kind of really gather it along and create a lot more pleats. And then when you've done that, just turn the piece over, and you could just then apply glue in these creases that you've made. Just wipe it along the crease. One there. And then turn it back over, and then again just crease them in, and this time you're sticking them together. You can flatten them down. And just keep sort of playing around until you're happy with how it looks. If you've put a bit too much on, you can just open it up a little bit before the glue has sort of started to take. And then, like with those two, I'm actually going to apply a bit of glue at the front there, and I'm going to stick those down. I'm just pulling the curtain now just to sort of straighten it all. There. Okay, so once the pleats have dried in, I'm going to attach the curtains to the window. So turn it over, and I'm using the Gorilla Wood glue again here, and just apply it along the back of each curtain, where the rail is, and actually along the back of the rail. And then place it so that the rail is just along the top of that blind, and so that you've got an even amount of curtain at either side. And press that into place. You can use a small piece of masking tape just to hold it into place if you need to. And then you can also just apply a tiny dot of glue underneath each curtain, so just in each corner, and then just glue that into place as well. Use another cocktail stick here to remove that glue from on the bottom. And you can put extra glue along the sides if your fabric's sticking up, if you need to. And there's our completed window dressing.